Morning, good to have you with us on a Friday. I'm Joe Fryer. Savannah is off. We begin this hour with new details about the suspect in that terrifying car ramming attack on a Michigan synagogue. The FBI is investigating it as a possible act of terrorism. Yesterday, authorities say that man, armed with a rifle, drove a car through the doors of Temple Israel Synagogue, where a preschool class was in session. The suspect managed to drive down a hallway before he was killed by security guards. Smoke could be seen billowing from the building, which is about 30 miles northwest of downtown Detroit. No children or staff members were hurt. Now, this morning, a local Lebanese official is telling NBC News that several members of the attacker's family were killed in an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon just last week. The FBI special agent in charge says that multiple local, state, and federal agencies are investigating.
And I can confirm that we are leading the investigation right now as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community.
Temple Israel's executive director, Jason Plotkin, and Rabbi Joshua L. Bennett will join me in just a moment. First, though, let's get to NBC News correspondent Shaquille Brewster. He is in West Bloomfield with the latest on what happened and more about what we are learning about the suspect. Shaq, good morning.
You still see an active scene behind me. Investigators definitely working through the night to process this scene, collect as much evidence as possible. The FBI is saying they're investigating this as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community. Police say that this all started around noon yesterday, just after noon, when they say they responded to calls of a possible active shooter. But when they arrived, they realized that as there was essentially a preschool operating in this building behind me, that a man drove his vehicle into the building, drove through the hallways, and then was stopped by local security, private security at this synagogue, that then opened fire to stop the suspect. Now, you mentioned that suspect is now being identified by the Department of Homeland Security. They're identifying him as Ahmed Mohammed Ghazali, saying he's a naturalized U.S. citizen from Lebanon. But authorities say there's still so many questions that they're trying to answer. They have not identified a motive for this attack, and they're still trying to figure out why the vehicle he was driving essentially burst into flames during that attack. They say that it's ignited in some way, so they're still seeing exactly what the cause of that was. That fire, by the way, ended up sending about 30 members of law enforcement to the hospital for smoke inhalation. We know there was at least one security guard who was also injured in the attack, apparently was hit by the car, by the vehicle, and knocked out, though he's expected to survive. But the key point here is that none of the children inside, none of the 140 kids, none of the staff members, the faculty, the teachers were injured in this attack. They were all evacuated and reunited with family afterwards. So this is definitely a scene that has rocked this community, definitely a concerning situation, and authorities saying that there's a lot more to investigate and a lot more to learn in the hours and days to come. Guys.
All right, Shaq, thank you. Joining us to talk more about this terrifying scene in Michigan yesterday, Temple Israel's executive director, Jason Plotkin, and Temple Israel's Rabbi Joshua Bennett. We appreciate you both joining us on what I know is a difficult morning for you. Jason, we'll start with you. Can you let us know just where you were during the attack and what you saw in the moments after as you started to realize what was happening?
Yeah, so I was in my office, which is adjacent to the hallway where the vehicle came through. I was on a Zoom call, and all of a sudden I heard a large crash. I was like, there was nothing in the hall that would have been like such a significant crash. I got off the Zoom call, looked in the office, and staff were running by for safety. I saw a lot of damage and smoke in the hallway. And then all of a sudden started hearing what was gunshots adjacent to my office. So at that point, instincts kicked in. We do security training regularly. I lowered the window to my office. I hid under the desk. But unfortunately, the smoke, because I have an exterior door as well that goes to that hallway, was coming in pretty rapidly, particularly as I was on the ground under my desk. And I had to make the decision at that point to run. Because I couldn't take the smoke much longer. It was, as you heard, there were quite a few people impacted by the smoke on site. And I had to zigzag through different parts of the office and exited out a different exit to the building, just to get away from the smoke, because it was coming in really quick, really heavy. As I said, I was adjacent to where the vehicle came in through the building.
And the entire time, I'm sure you just didn't realize what was actually unfolding. Rabbi, I want to bring you into the conversation. What was it you witnessed yesterday, and what was going through your mind as everything unfolded?
So I was not in the building when the attack took place. I had an off-site meeting, and I immediately, when I heard through a barrage of text messages, I made my way to Temple, Israel. Unfortunately, by the time I arrived, the police presence was so enormous that the roads were blocked and we had to walk about a mile to get to our site. I met up with my colleagues who were across the street because of the incredible friendship and partnership we have with our local community members. We set up a staging area for parents to arrive and collect their children. We made sure that everybody was accounted for. And we are so grateful for the unbelievably swift response of our local security teams, our local law enforcement, and everybody who is a part of this.
And Jason, I want to ask you more about that. I mean, the police chief, Dale Young, said it was Temple security officers who, in their words, neutralized the threat yesterday. But in recent years, we've seen this rise in anti-Semitic attacks here in the U.S. Now tensions are even higher because of the war in the Middle East. So, Jason, with that in mind, what are some of the safety measures that you've been putting in place, and how effective were those yesterday?
Yeah, the safety measures literally made a huge difference. Everyone executed as we had been trained. Our ECC, which is our Early Childhood Center, faculty were trained, our staff were trained. We literally had an FBI training about 6 weeks prior to yesterday's incident. Our security team is our own guys. We have about 8 to 10 guys on our security staff, and there's always a presence at Temple Israel for security. A lot of the synagogues have to invest 4 to 8% of their annual budget on security. We do as well. And these guys executed as they're supposed to. They engaged the individual and neutralized the individual to keep us all safe. And these gentlemen, I mean, we run a preschool, as everyone's heard. It's really relational policing, and that's what we have with our local police as well. We have partnerships and relationships, as Rabbi Josh alluded to, and the preparation from the security aspect, having the relationships in place. The officers know us, they know our building, they know our people. It just helps move things really rapidly in the response, and we're just grateful for our security team, our security partners, and the continued relationships and the execution that we work on really put us in position to be successful and keep everyone safe yesterday.
And Rabbi, knowing the FBI is investigating this as a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community, what is your message right now to your community, but also just the broader Jewish community across the country who might be feeling scared right now?
There are two things that we're thinking about. One is that we want people to recognize the Jewish community will remain strong, that we are not going to allow these moments to deter us from our worship, from our education, and from being a powerful community that gets to live in this incredible country in freedom. But the other message that I want people to understand is that this is what it looks like for the Jewish community around the world right now, that we are living in a challenging time. And as Jason said, we have to deal with these issues by putting our dollars behind keeping our communities safe and secure. And that without the partnerships with our law enforcement agents, without the community friends we have, we could not do this. So the combination of all of that allows us to continue to be a strong and vibrant response to these incidents.
Rabbi Joshua Bennett and Jason Plotkin, we appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning. We're glad that everyone in your synagogue is safe this morning as well. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This morning, a separate violent attack is also being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. This one in Virginia. A gunman was killed yesterday after opening fire inside a classroom full of ROTC members at Old Dominion University in Norfolk. One victim was killed, 2 others were injured in the shooting. Authorities say the suspect was subdued by the students We're now learning that the gunman had previously been convicted of providing material support to ISIS. NBC's Ryan Nobles has more on the students who stepped in to end the attack.
The suspected terror attack playing out on a campus in Virginia. Old Dominion University on high alert after a shooter opened fire in a classroom.
Reports of an active shooter in the building.
Just before 11 a.m., officials say 36-year-old Mohammed Baylor Jala specifically targeted an ROTC class on the Norfolk, Virginia campus.
We have confirmed reports that prior to him conducting this act of terrorism, he shouted, stated Allah Akbar.
O. Jermaine Bego's son was in the room and called soon after the gunfire broke out.
He was very distraught and nervous. You can hear it in his voice, but he wanted to let me and his mother know that he was okay, that he was unharmed.
A group of brave students stepped in to subdue the suspect.
And if not for them, I'm not sure, what else he may have done.
According to police, one person was killed, 2 others injured. The shooter also died. The Secretary of the Army saying both people injured were Army personnel. Virginia's governor identifying the victim as Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw, calling him a devoted ROTC instructor. Jallo is from Sterling, Virginia, and was a former member of the Army National Guard. He was arrested in 2016 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS, according to court documents, and allegedly attempting to gather weapons to be used in an attack in the U.S. The complaint at the time said Jallo also attempted to provide funds to people hoping to join ISIS. Documents show that he pleaded guilty to a terrorism-related charge. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison and was released in 2024, according to the Department of Justice. Classes at Old Dominion University are canceled for the remainder of the week as the investigation is ongoing.
At this point, officials are still trying to figure out what the suspect's specific motive was, and they're asking the public for help. They want to know if anyone saw the suspect prior to this incident, who he may have been talking to, and if anyone was feeding him information.
All right, Ryan Nobles, thank you. As the war with Iran approaches the 2-week mark, the conflict shows no signs of slowing down. In developing this morning, U.S. Central Command confirms that an Air Force refueling plane went down in western Iraq early this morning, and 4 of the 6 crew members on board were killed. The military says rescue efforts do continue. Before that, Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, broke his silence yesterday. He released a message days after succeeding his father, who was killed in the initial U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. The new leader did not appear in person. Instead, the message was read by a news anchor on state TV. The new supreme leader said the critical Strait of Hormuz should remain closed, choking off the flow of oil. He also promised Iran will continue to attack its Middle East neighbors, which host U.S. bases. President Trump seemed to fire back in a Truth Social post overnight, claiming the U.S. is totally destroying the terrorist regime in Iran and warning his audience to, in his words, watch what happens to them today. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us now from Tel Aviv, Israel, with the latest. Matt, good morning. Let's start with this breaking news this morning. U.S. Central Command saying that refueling aircraft went down in Iraq, killing 4 U.S. service members who were on board. What more are we learning?
Yeah, well, we're learning more by the moment because, as you mentioned, there's still a rescue operation going on, or at least a search and rescue operation in western Iraq. As you said, 4 out of the 6 crew members were killed. The military was very careful to say this was neither a friendly fire incident nor a combat incident. This was simply an error that killed these 4 people. We don't know about the welfare of the other 2 crew members, so we could see this casualty figure rising. Now, this tragically brings the number of U.S. servicemen who have been killed in this conflict between the U.S. and Israel on one side and Iran on the other, I should say service people, to 11. As you mentioned, we enter the 2-week period starting tomorrow.
And Matt, in Israel where you are, what is the latest on the ground?
Well, actually, Joe, for the first time, we really didn't hear that many sirens all night last night. Normally, we'd get woken up by 2:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning for some kind of siren. Instead, we heard one somewhat late last night, and so far, we haven't heard a single one. Now, we are continuing still to hear multiple times a day, that we haven't, gotten into today yet, these sirens and warnings about missiles being fired from Iran, or lately even more from Lebanon, from Hezbollah in the north. But increasingly, the IDF is telling us that the number of missiles in each of these salvos has been decreasing, which makes them quite a bit easier for the Israelis to swat out of the sky.
Matt, we know Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters yesterday that his military has targeted Iran's nuclear project, including what he says are severe blows to senior scientists who led to the development of these nuclear bombs. What more can you tell us about what he's saying about the military operation?
Yeah, well, we keep hearing about this, that there's targets that are wide-ranging from senior leaders of the Iranian regime to military facilities, intelligence facilities, and last week we saw massive attacks against several different energy facilities that spewed toxic air and toxic substances into the atmosphere. So we're seeing a wide range, including hitting those ballistic missile sites. We've gotten a lot of information from the IDF that they've been taking out a lot of these, and yet we're still seeing ballistic missiles being fired. The big question remaining here, Joe, is what happened to the about 450 kilograms, it's nearly 1,000 pounds, of highly enriched uranium. That's uranium that's been enriched up to 60%. That is only used for a weapon of like a nuclear bomb. And so far, it remains largely unaccounted for by the United States and Israel. So there is a real hunt to see where this material is. It's about the size and weight of a grand piano or maybe a small horse. So it's something that you can't put in your pocket, but it could be moved. So it could be anywhere in Iran right now.
All right, Matt Bradley reporting from Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much. Now, as the conflict in the Middle East continues to send the price of oil and gas skyrocketing, President Trump is once again shifting his message on the economic impact of this war with Iran. In a post on Truth Social yesterday, the president wrote that when oil prices go up, quote, "we make a lot of money." It's not clear who he meant by we. Comes just days after the president had touted a move intended to reduce some of the price pressures on American consumers. His administration ordered the release of 172 million barrels of oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve. Just a few weeks ago, during his State of the Union address, he had pointed to gas prices as a success story, but since then they have risen significantly. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins me now with more on what's happening in Washington. Julie, good morning. So the Trump administration under pressure to explain what its aims are with the war against Iran and also to justify these impacts on the American people, including the gas prices. We know the president ran on this campaign, ending foreign wars, bringing prices down. So how is he framing all this?
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Not only that, but remember, he repeatedly hit his predecessor, President Joe Biden, over the high gas and oil prices. In part, that happened because of the war that was happening in Ukraine. Now you have a conflict in Iran that was of this administration's own choosing and making and trying to take this aggressive posture against the regime. It's causing, as you mentioned, those oil and gas prices to completely soar. I spent Wednesday, you showed clips from the president's speech there in Kentucky. I talked to his voters and supporters there. One woman who is a truck driver brought this up on her own. Take a listen to what she told me.
Do you support what the administration is doing in Iran?
Yes and no.
Tell me more about the yes and no.
I support what's going on, but I doesn't like how it's turning out.
In what way?
The gas prices are going up, our food industry is going up, everything is going up, and we can't survive over here.
Look, for the most part, though, they still support what he's doing. But it was interesting to hear the president try to justify what he's doing in Iran. He, of course, has shifting timelines, but certainly months ahead of the midterm elections, especially on his affordability tour, as he's calling it. This is an issue he wants to make sure he's on the right side of.
And to hear someone saying that even at one of his rallies is certainly quite eye-opening. I mean, beyond just the messaging, we know the squeeze on the oil market, the skyrocketing prices, that's causing the administration to reverse course on a major policy when it comes to Russia. Tell us more about what they're saying and why they're temporarily lifting some sanctions on Russian oil.
Yeah, Joe, well, this is all happening because the administration wants to try to ease those prices. In this case, of course, we saw last week the administration, the Treasury Department specifically, temporarily lifting restrictions and sanctions on India to allow that country that is very reliant on Russian oil and gas to temporarily buy those products. That's a sanction they put in effect a couple of weeks ago to try and stop the Russian government from profiting off oil and gas and therefore funding its continued attack and war in Ukraine. This time, overnight, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent writing that this new influx, taking these sanctions further off other nations, allowing them to use and purchase about 124 million barrels of oil that the Treasury Secretary says is already at sea. Bessent saying that this, quote, will not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government, as many countries, not just the U.S., are experiencing the squeeze of these rising oil and gas prices. But certainly this is angering Democrats on Capitol Hill, even some Republicans. Senator Lindsey Graham, as you'll recall, has been pushing legislation to slap even further sanctions on countries that try to buy Russian oil. This is, of course, a step backwards. Democrats, including Senator Brian Schatz, is saying this is essentially the administration fighting Iran, and Russia won. And
Julie, speaking of Capitol Hill, while the war in Iran goes on, real quickly, tell us how some lawmakers are trying to put a check on the president's power when it comes to foreign policy.
Well, Republicans are in the majority, and so far most of them have backed the president's foreign interventions. Iran has been the latest, but we've seen war powers resolutions fail as well when it comes to Venezuela, when it comes to other countries. This time, as you see on your screen, Democratic senators, including Senator Tim Kaine, who is behind all of these efforts, are trying to put a check on the president's power on Cuba. Nothing has happened in that country yet, but that's why this is so key. They want to get this vote done before the administration potentially considers any action in Cuba. It's something they've been previewing, especially since the operation in Venezuela, where they took Maduro out. Remember, stopping drug flow is a key priority of this administration. Secretary Marco Rubio has been negotiating with the Cuban government to prevent any kind of operation from taking place from the American side. But certainly, this is something Democrats want to continue to keep in the spotlight, despite their failed efforts previously to try and curtail and rein in some of the administration's power here without Congress's input.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thank you so much. In Arizona, investigators have developed new information in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Today marks 41 days since she was abducted from her home in Tucson. And for the first time, the sheriff says they have an idea of the suspect's motive. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has more.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos giving an update on the search for Nancy Guthrie nearly 6 weeks since her disappearance.
Do you think that this suspect could strike again, whoever did this?
Well, absolutely. We believe we know why he did this, and we believe that it was targeted, but we're not 100% sure of that. And so it'd be silly to tell people, yeah, don't worry about it. You're not his target. Don't think for a minute that because it happened to the Guthrie family, you're safe. No, keep your wits about you.
We pressed Nanos about that potential motive.
There is something that's come out in the investigation that gives you a sense of motive here and why this person did this?
You know, I think it's come out from day one. I think from day one, we had some strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished.
Do you believe it was a burglary gone wrong?
I'm not going to get into those theories. We have our beliefs. Everybody else has theirs.
Nanos says he's intentionally withholding their theory and other details in the case, citing the integrity of the investigation. He confirmed investigators have been asking about potential internet issues the night of Nancy's abduction and said they're looking into the possibility a Wi-Fi jammer could have been used or if there was some other electrical disruption that night. The sheriff also says he's still hopeful the DNA found in the home will lead to the suspect. Liz Kreutz, NBC News.
As winter tries to fight off spring, powerful storms are sweeping across much of the country. Emergency shelters are opening in Hawaii, where a powerful Kona storm is hitting the islands. Most of the state is under a high wind advisory until Sunday. Forecasters are calling for sustained winds of 40 miles an hour with gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. Oahu has already seen significant rainfall, which is causing major flooding throughout the island. Back here on the mainland, temperatures are plummeting across the east. Richmond, Virginia was blanketed with several inches of snow after, get this, temperatures dropped nearly 60 degrees in 24 hours. Out west, Washington State is in the middno of a major snowstorm. Snoqualmie Pass, which is east of Seattle, is expected to get up to 4 feet of snow before tomorrow. And in Colorado, wind gusts of up to 80 miles an hour are creating dust storms that are so severe they're reducing visibility down to almost nothing. So with all that in mind, seems like a good time for your morning News Now weather. Angie Lassman joins us with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
It's really hard, Joe, to be a meteorologist with a 50-degree temperature drop from the 80s to the 30s in a matter of a day. And unfortunately, winter is holding on for a lot of folks. Here's what we've got right now. The winter alerts topping 20 million people. And you can see still some snow working across Michigan, stretching into parts of Wisconsin. We've also got a little more of that rain farther to the south. And we unfortunately are going to continue to track this system across parts of the Great Lakes and then eventually New England as the day goes on. So the snow and the wind in the picture, and that means the slick travel as well through the day today. The good news is it's a clipper system, so it's out of here pretty fast. And as we look to tomorrow, still some lingering kind of snow showers the farther north you go into New England, but the chilly winds are here to stay, unfortunately. And those winds are quite impressive in some spots, so much so that we have a whole lot of folks under wind alerts this morning in some of those same regions, and 40, 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts are what we're expecting at least through tomorrow. So still dealing with the gusty conditions and the cold conditions for some. A very different story, though, if you look out towards the southwest, where we have the potential to see a whole lot of records over the next couple of days, triple-digit temperatures in some spots. But let's zoom in on parts of Southern California and Arizona. Phoenix expected to be into the low 90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We've got the 90s on tap in Los Angeles on Friday. And we really keep that kind of trend going for the extended period. So a bit of a different story depending on where you look. And it's not just Southern California. Notice Denver, 72 degrees today, and a whopping 30 degrees in Bismarck just up the road. We've got 40s for Chicago. That's pretty typical. And it's going to be a mix of this kind of warm and cold highs, even as we get into tomorrow. 90 in Abilene, 30 for Bismarck, 60s for St. Louis. By the time we get into early next week, there's still a chill in the air for some folks across the Northeast and especially across the Northern Plains and the Midwest. Green Bay, only 21 degrees on Monday. Meanwhile, you go from the 70s on Sunday in Evansville to the 30s by Monday. So we really haven't decided what season we're in just yet. We're kind of still in that transitional period. But the good news is we don't have any of those severe storm threats today. So that's me looking on the bright side.
That's good. I'm eyeing Los Angeles, 87 on Sunday for the Oscars.
Yes.
So they'll be sweating on the red carpet probably.
They will, and we'll all be jealous across the East because
Yeah, exactly.
we would like it to be in the 80s.
No kidding. All right, Angie, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.